Hey Josh, thanks for coming on the show, man.
My pleasure, Christian. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome, sir. It's very good. It's very formal. No, but definitely we wanted this show is about first-time filmmakers, filmmaking, the indie world. They showing short films and stuff like that. And I know yourself starting from the acting world, transitioning into directing, writing, producing, correct?
Yeah, actually, ironically, I started working for a documentary company in the 90s in New York, and was filming for them a lot, and then got hired to do Blair Witch Project because I knew how to run a camera, which then kind of instigated a whole new career. So it was behind the camera, in front of the camera, and now struggling to get back behind the camera.
Right, as the ever constant struggle. So you did the short, and that was a Sundance. You took the short to Sundance, correct? Now, how was your transition from doing that to going back behind the camera and stepping on that?
Well, I think, I think in terms of transition and trajectory, it's always a more complicated answer than you can give in an interview.
Of course.
I know like 3 friends who have the dream career where they made the thesis film out of NYU, they got their feature, and now they're making big films, and all of that happened within a couple-year period. I think, in most cases, myself very much included, the trajectory is much more like this.
And I think that's more the norm, for sure.
And I think that's important. I think that's important for younger filmmakers to remember, because it can be so disheartening. It can be
not linear,
so frustrating. And I think oftentimes I would read an interview with somebody in a magazine, and it would all seem so purposeful, and like it was always meant to be. And when you're actually in the moment, it so often doesn't feel like the case.
Absolutely.
So what did I do? I guess I made a couple of short of music videos in the mid-90s. I started by doing that. I had a feature project that I'd been trying to get made. I was in my early mid-20s, I guess, mid to late 20s, and that fell apart. So I had gotten sick of saying that I wanted to be a narrative director, so I decided to call up some friends and make a short film, which became The Youth and Us.
Right.
And from the decision to make that film until we were shooting was probably 6 weeks.
Right.
Once I finally decide to do something, normally it happens very quickly because I'm so fed up with not doing it at that point that it motivates.
Yeah.
So I made The Youth and Us. I was very fortunate because I had come from an acting background to be able to call in some great actors. I got Kelly Garner and Lucas Haas to do that film, and they were wonderful, and we took it to Sundance, and I got approached by a bunch of directing agents at Sundance, and I was excited, and I thought, okay, here's my directing career.
Sure.
And then 5 years later, I made my first feature.
Right. And I think that's important for people to understand that, and filmmakers understand that. It doesn't, for the most part, it is a gradual process.
I think it's very much a gradual process, and I think we're also at a time and a place where self-generating material really is the only it's the only thing that gives you any kind of leverage in the business whatsoever.
Yep.
So kind of gone are the days, except for a couple of anomalous examples of, wow, we loved his short, let's give him this script.
Right.
I think normally as directors, the onus is on us to generate our feature material. Yep. Hopefully the feature material that you pick will somehow bounce off of the short that you've made, so somebody can watch that and it'll be a good example of your directing. I mean, I took a hiatus. I made I co-directed this documentary, Beautiful Losers, for 3 years in between my short and my first narrative feature.
Now, is your love still in docs? I mean, is that...
I have a love for docs. Spending 3 years on
that's why I say that. It's a long time.
It cured some of my love for docs. Because it is a long process, man.
Yeah.
And But it was
and it's so
fun.
different from narrative storytelling too. I mean,
it's very different, and our film was about a group of artists. We traveled around the world. We interviewed 100 people, and then we came back and had to figure out what the story was.
Yeah, how do you cut it?
And it took us a year in the editing room to figure that out. That was not, there was no linear progression from that documentary to any of the feature work that I wanted to be doing.
Right.
So I think, I think there is something, you got to be true to yourself. Yep. The only consistent strain that I can find through most of my successful peers is a level of authenticity in what they do. For me, I often wish that my authentic self was a little more brandable.
Yeah, Mark,
because people establish themselves as like, oh, he does funny work, or he does awards films,
right?
And that makes it much easier to understand and to sell. So by the time I got around to doing The Lie, it was another situation completely synonymous to when I made The Youth and Us, which was I had a bigger project. We had movie stars attached. We needed, some serious money to make it.
Right.
The money came together. It fell apart. It came together. It fell apart. And finally, exactly the same as it had happened five years prior, I got sick of talking about being the guy who was about to make a movie.
Yep.
So I read this short story in the New Yorker called The Lie. It was a T.C. Boyle short story. I fell in love with it. I thought it was a story that could be made, close to the bone, done very independently for not a lot of money,
right.
and utilizing the production resources that I had at my fingertips.
Right.
Between myself and my producing partner, which is another important thing. I think. For young filmmakers is to, find a group of collaborators and stick with them through hell and high water. Yeah,
and that's been the running theme. From a lot of people that we've had on the show as well. Same thing. It's great that we're giving this type of knowledge back to these filmmakers who might come out of film school with this, just completely like, this is how it's going to happen. That's what it is. It's really about what you're saying. It's about finding that collaborative team.
But I think you have to. I still have that attitude,
right?
Despite thousands of examples of heartbreak and empirical knowledge to the contrary.
I hear you.
But I still have that in me where something that I've been working on for years will burn up in smoke and ashes, and I'll wake up the next day and I'll go, well, okay, what next?
Right.
And and it's not that I don't feel it or I don't mourn it or it doesn't fucking hurt. It's just that it's just that I think you have to have that blind sense of ultimate optimism,
right?
That things are going to work out, because that's what gets you up and gets you to work the next day.
Yeah. So you premiered The Lie.
So we premiered The Lie at Sundance last year.
Right. And that was great.
It was fantastic.
Right.
It was my first time. I'd been to Sundance as an actor, and then with my short film, and had always really wanted to go back there as a director of a feature. So that was a bit of a dream. And then we didn't have that electric experience where we had the midnight bidding war at Sundance. In fact, it was a more protracted process. We wound up selling the film probably about 3 months after Sundance.
Okay.
And so again, it's,
And you're still actively doing promotions on that, correct?
We're still actively doing promotions.
Yeah.
So we sold the film, and then about 6 months later, we released the film. So we've just released the film in the last few weeks in a handful of cities, in New York and Portland, and we're going to hit a couple more, and then it'll come out on VOD,
DVD,
and DVD, which is really where the primary revenue stream for truly independent films is these days. But again,
any
just
dates for those yet?
What's that?
Any dates for that?
January 10th VOD, January 24th DVD.
Awesome. The Lie.
So just again, to illustrate the point that we got there. I couldn't be happier. But in the moment, you finally get to Sundance with feature, and you feel like that's, okay, now's your time.
Right.
And then you don't sell at the festival. So it's just a constant, this kind of constant reaffirmation that that all you can do is continue to work, and that ultimately the results really are out of your control.
And stay active.
Stay active.
So that would be your pearl of wisdom to guys coming out of film school, girls coming out of film school. Perseverance, stay busy, keep working.
Yeah,
I mean, it's almost like it's almost trite. It's almost trite how simple it is, but it's almost.
Could I give? I was going to say, could I give a more cliche
but
piece
it
of
is.
advice?
But it is, right? I mean, that's. It's funny because I mean that's we've had guests on here, and it's like you think. I mean, you from top to bottom. I mean, the guys have been huge to me. It was just like, it is just that. It is just that.
Yeah. And I would just add to that. You are always going to have to work harder than anybody else.
Right.
Nobody, and I've got some of the greatest collaborators, of any of the folks that I know, and still at the end of the day, especially in the independent sphere, it always comes back to you.
Right.
So you can't, look, it's great. I've had a couple of really wonderful breaks along the way,
right,
and that feels fantastic.
Right.
But you can never expect it. You can never count on it. Really, the work has to be what makes you happy.
That's fantastic advice right there. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, man.
My pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
That's all great stuff for. And congratulations on it. We look forward to seeing it live.
Thank you. I look forward to you seeing it, and hopefully paying $4 on demand.
No doubt.
Hello, I'm Joshua Leonard. You're watching Short Showcase on PBS.
Ta-dum-bum. Thank you.